What's going on, barbarians? Welcome to another video. And this video is actually going to be about the origins of the El Clásico. Y'all told me to start looking at some of these rivalries, so that's what we're doing. So before we get into that, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, because y'all been keeping track with me as I try to catch up with over 100 years worth of international football history. Or people have been telling me in the comments to say club football, but I'm like, yo, I'm also learning about international teams and everything. They're like, nah, say club football or just say football. Just don't say soccer. I'm like, all right, I don't want no smoke. I want no smoke. But let's get right into it. We're gonna look at the origins of the El Clásico. Okay, let's get right into it.
For some, over the better part of the last decade or so, El Clásico turned into Messi versus Ronaldo, whereas the reason for the rivalry between the clubs, which is
So, right off rip, we not even 8 seconds into it. So, being American, for a lot of people that's been watching this now that I'm getting a lot of people that are from like different countries now, and you're watching my videos. So, when I break down and talk about this and do my reaction videos, this is me trying to understand the sport because we're taught nothing here in America about it whatsoever. They actually kind of say like it's like a soft sport to play. And now we're realizing after the World Cup that this is actually one of the biggest sports ever. Not one, the biggest sport, most watched sport ever. So that's what we're finding out. So I say that to say this. When they told us about Messi versus Ronaldo, we never knew what was behind it. We never knew it was the El Clásico that kind of put it into perspective of, oh, this is Messi versus Ronaldo because one played for Real Madrid. See, I said Real, not real, because I know Real means royalty. See how I'm learning? But yeah, and then to see that against FC Barcelona. So we figuring it out. We putting the pieces to the puzzle. I know people that have been watching me since the first video, which this is our 20th video, that you guys have been seeing my progress and seeing the things that I learned and that I'm applying for. Yeah, we getting here. We getting here, y'all. We getting here.
steeped in history and politics, has been somewhat forgotten. What's up? My name's Adrian, and welcome to another edition of Rabona TV's Roots of the Rivalry. Now,
Yes, and shout out to Rabona TV for actually providing this video. This video is about 7 years old, so we don't know what happened in between the 7 years, but this is just supposed to be the origins of that rivalry.
get into the nitty-gritty of what divides Barcelona and Real Madrid fans in a second.
So show him some love, man.
Out. Other than that, PSA over. Let's get to it. First, the political and cultural climate in Spain in the early 1900s,
Oh, we
which
get history lessons.
still definitely remains to this day in some capacities, is extremely important. As you're probably familiar with already, within various regions in Spain, most notably the Basque and Catalonian regions, there are
So we didn't know that. I didn't know that these were, separate regions.
large sects of citizens that feel as though their region is separate from that of the rest of Spain. Madrid, of
so
course,
they don't
is
even
not
feel like
only
they're a part of it.
geographically, but politically.
You know the thing about it here in America, we got that same thing where Texas, almost every election period, almost every single election period, Texas always tried to break off of the United States. They feel that they're their own republic, and California tries to do the same thing. I think it's like California, Nevada, Florida, and Texas. They always tend to try to break off from the United States almost every single election cycle. So we understand what y'all talking about. Like it's like almost like Brexit.
As well, being the capital of Spain, well, Barcelona lies in the Catalonian region, a region that, as recently as 2017 and 18, tried to have a referendum to separate from the rest of Spain, while the same has been pondered by the Basque region in the past as well. You'll want to keep that in mind throughout, as it's quite central to a lot of what we'll be talking about politically in this video. Now, with that in mind, let's quickly look at the foundational history of the two clubs, starting with Los Blancos. As all fans,
And for people that wonder, like, oh, why did he stop the video? Why does he stop the video? And why does he always talk? Because if you want to watch the video, you just click the link in the video. This is a reaction. And also, this is me learning and telling you guys what I'm learning and also share American history with you guys. So a lot of you that come in and watch the videos, and now that I'm getting a little, getting a little following here, that, some guys want to know exactly what's going on in America outside of what you're shown on TV. who's best to give it to than a Black American who people have been through the worst of what America has to offer. So we can tell you exactly what's going on for real without trying to cover it up or make it look good and how it relates to you guys or what you have been privy to information that you didn't know. So you might be like, oh, okay, what's going on over here as it attributes to what you're saying with this club. That's basically what I do. I kind of correlate the two.
As a football note, England are responsible for spreading the sport around the world, and in Spain, it was no different. A few students from Oxford and Cambridge who were studying at the Institución Libre de Enseñanza helped to start the first football club in Madrid, called Sociedad Sky Football. 3 years later, however, the club split in two: Nuevo Sociedad de Football, or the New Football Society, and Madrid Football Club. Thus, the first president in Madrid's history was Julian Palacios, while the man who was at the helm of the club when it was officially made into a company on March 6, 1902, was Juan Padros. Given that football was growing in popularity extremely quickly in Madrid, Madrid Football Club pitched the idea of throwing a tournament in honor of Spain's king, Alfonso XIII, calling it the Copa de la Coronación, or the Coronation Cup. So yes, the Copa del Rey was sort of Real Madrid's idea as they pitched the Copa de la Coronación, which preceded the Copa del Rey. We'll speak more about this cup later when we talk about the first meeting of Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Okay, so they had like a Ferrari Lamborghini thing going on over here. So I guess it was one club and then split apart. And they're like, you know what? We finna start beefing because we from over here.
Anyways, enough of that.
I'm just
it was in
talking
1920 that King Alfonso XIII gave Real Madrid its royal title. Thus, the club was henceforth known by the name you know today, Real Madrid. And now, FC Barcelona, whose foundational history is also chock full of expats, as many clubs across Europe are. Hans Gamper, or Joan Gamper if you're in Catalonia, sought out like-minded individuals who wanted.
Okay, so what's the difference between them calling them Hans and Joan? Like, because as he said, if you in this certain area, you're gonna call them Hans. In this certain area, you're gonna call them Joan. Why is that?
To form a football club with him by using the good old-fashioned method. He posted an ad in the paper that said that he was, quote, wishing to organize some matches in Barcelona, requesting that everyone who likes this sport contact him. Come to this office Tuesday and Friday nights from 9 to 11. So, 1 month later, on November 29th, 1899, 11 men attended the meeting and founded Football Club Barcelona, with their first club director, or president, being another Swiss expat named Walter Wild. Cool name. Barcelona played in.
So, Spaniards are just well-traveled Europeans. That's what Is that what I'm seeing here?
And won their first trophy in 1902, which was the Copa Macaya. It was also in 1902 that they would meet their future bitter rivals, Real Madrid, in the Copa de la Coronación semi-finals, played on May 13th at the Hippodromo in Madrid. The winner of this match? FC Barcelona, thanks to a brace from Udo Steinberg and a penalty put away.
Yeah, that's my first team, y'all. I'm telling y'all, this is my first team. I'm with FC Barcelona, so they won the first Clásico. That's what's happening. Yeah, FC Barcelona all the way.
By Gamper himself. Barcelona moved on to the final of the Coronation Cup up against eventual champions Vizcaya, which was a conglomerate club made up of players from Athletic Bilbao and other Basque clubs. Now, this posed a problem for the organizers of the Cup, as the final consisted of a team from the Basque region and a team from Catalonia. Not exactly what the organizers from Madrid, the home of the monarchy, were looking for. So, in order to sort of aid this, a third-place consolation match was quickly thrown together, with journalist Phil Ball even speculating that the trophy used for it was from the personal collection of one of the organizers. Well, from the organizers' perspective, it paid off, as Real Madrid defeated Espanyol, another Catalonian club, 3-2 in the Consolation Cup. It wasn't called that, it was actually called the
Navan, the number one
Said they called it the Constellation
rated
Cup.
business travel platform, lets your
So
team book
they
work travel
basically-
in one place. Flights, hotels, cars.
We had to make sure we skipped that ad right there.
Copa de Peña. Now, for the next couple of decades, Madrid and Barcelona would go toe-to-toe, with Barcelona having a particularly good run of 13 matches from 1917 to 1928, in which they didn't lose once to Madrid. Madrid did have their dominant run though, as they didn't lose once to Barcelona from 1931 to 35, a span of 14 matches. 1 year later, however, the Spanish Civil War broke out. Without going too deep into the Civil War, there are a lot of videos out there that.
So, is this soccer rivalry? That's the question I'm asking. Is this soccer rivalry basically fueled because of the Spanish Civil War? And it's like, hey, we still don't like y'all. It's like how we still have like beef, but in the United States between the North and the South when it comes to certain things, down to football, basketball, rap, hip hop and everything. Like we still have some type of competition because we had the Civil War between the North and the South. So is that the same thing that's kind of happening with international football? Is the fact that y'all really had a real war?
I can explain the subject way better than me. Here's the extremely short version. The 1936 Spanish elections were narrowly won by the political party, the Popular Front, which due to multiple events, including some killings on July 12th, 1936, lost control of the government completely. A failed military coup led to a civil war between the leftist Republicans, made up of anarchists and communists among others, up against the nationalists, the right-leaning militarily strong side that was eventually led by Francisco Franco. Franco's ideals would unify the nationalists while the Republicans had very little in regards to unity, which would be their eventual downfall, leading to Barcelona being conquered by the nationalists in January of 1939, Barcelona of course being the homeland of the Republicans. 2 months later,
Okay. I see what's happening here. So let's keep going.
Madrid was conquered and Franco was installed as the absolute dictator of Spain. So what does this have to do with Real Madrid and FC Barcelona? Well, first, let me state that the war itself didn't affect Barcelona and Real Madrid in footballing terms directly. In fact, Madrid and Barcelona were both fighting against Franco's troops on the same side. But the outcome of Franco becoming dictator did indeed affect both on footballing terms. So, back to my question of just how the outcome affected both of the clubs. Well, considering Franco fought against Republicans from Barcelona, basically the epicenter of Catalonian nationalism, I'm sure you can see how he was less than amicable with them, not only politically, but also football.
So, because he fought against the Republicans in Barcelona, but he stays in Madrid, he like, man, we don't really rock with y'all. So I'm a rock with Madrid due to the fact of, the whole political party tried to fight me over here. Am I getting that? Is that correct?
Footballing wise as well. If you've seen our video on the Derby de Lisboa, then you'd know that Portugal's dictator António Salazar used football almost as a propaganda piece, given his popularity within the country, and Benfica became his sort of representation of a strong Portugal for the rest of Europe. Well, in Spain, Franco was no different, as he allegedly looked to use Real Madrid as his own piece of propaganda. In doing so, you can see how this divided the fans of the respective clubs even further. With Barcelona fans not only disliking Real Madrid as a simple sporting rival, but now with all of the political connotations that go along with Madrid being representative of the Francoist regime that squashed Catalonia and continued to repress them, it made things even worse. And don't get me wrong, that's not to say there weren't instances in which FC Barcelona and Franco got along, wherein some Barcelona backroom staff had good relationships with him, regularly awarding him and his regime medals and gifts, while Franco even made the construction of the Camp Nou a priority.
So this is crazy. So a lot of the political stuff that happened is really just the reason why they got beef. I know he's trying to say like, nah, not really the main reason, but it looked like it's the main reason to me. It looked like he had like a personal problem with them and said, you know what? It's like right now how, we got Trump in office in the United States, it's crazy over here. But it's like if he chose a football team, if he chose a football team and decided to say, you know what, I'm going to rock with the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is my team. The rest of the league is going to hate the Kansas City Chiefs more than they already do. Like he almost did that to the Knicks during the Knicks finals when he showed up to the game that they actually lost. When he showed up to the game and people were like, I don't know if I want to be a Knicks fan because they closed down blocks of where the fans usually would have their watch parties at. They closed that down. The tickets went up astronomically. There's a lot of things, and everybody is aware that Donald Trump is from New York, so he's predisposed a New York Knicks fan. So that kind of almost put a wedge between the Knicks and everybody else. And the big thing that's going to that's going to happen or show up soon is about the White House visit. I don't know if the White House visit happened already, but when the White House visit to see which players are going to show up to the White House under his administration, and that kind of makes people like you're choosing a side, basically. That's what they're basically saying. Like, hey, you're choosing a side because you showed up to the White House where you have the option to not go at all. You don't have to go. So the people that do go, they kind of look like, well, you're on that side over there, and you're basically complicit to everything that's happening with this administration. So that's going to be a big thing you're going to hear out of America for people that's watching this.
But for the most part, it's commonly accepted among Barcelona fans and Spanish football fans in general that Real Madrid was favored by Franco. A great example of this was during the 1943 Generalissimo Cup semi-finals. By the way, the Generalissimo Cup is just the Copa del Rey, but during Franco's time, it was referred to as the former. Anyways, as I was saying, in the 1943 edition of the Cup, Barcelona and Real Madrid faced off in the semi-finals. The first leg ended 3-0 to Barcelona at home, and they were cruising. However, according to legend, when the Barcelona players came to Madrid for the second leg, they were apparently met by the Director of State Security, a grand surprise for them, who, once again, according to Phil Ball, reminded the players of how the state had allowed Catalonia to remain within the country.
And that's kind of like what happened with Iran. That's kind of like what happened with Iran when they came here for the World Cup. So people who don't know what's going on, well, when the World Cup happened here a few weeks ago, Iran, they qualified for the World Cup, so they weren't allowed to stay in the United States. They had to stay in Mexico. So any games that they had in the United States, they had to fly in, play the game, and leave from the locker room to go straight back to Mexico after every single game. And they were going through rigorous security checks. They wouldn't even allow some of them to even come into the country. Like, it was so petty. It was messed up. It was very, very messed up, and a lot of us in America don't agree with that. And then they always say, "Oh, what about terrorism and all that?" Actually, some of the conservative groups are actually declared the biggest domestic terrorism culprits in the United States. If you want to know that, some of those conservative groups is listed in FBI. If anybody wants to Google that some of the conservative groups are declared the biggest domestic terrorists in the United States, and those are the same groups that are basically that were lobbying for Iran not to stay in America, saying Iran doesn't deserve to even come to the World Cup and all that. Those are the same groups that say that. The people that are literally considered the domestic terrorists in the United States are the same group that was saying that about Iran. It's crazy. Very hypocritical.
And the generosity that it took from the state to do exactly that. The players were able to read between the lines and could sniff out the alleged threat, and in the second leg, well, let's just say that things went differently than in the first. Vastly differently. Real Madrid won 11-1.
So they threw the game?
11-4 on aggregate. If that's not rolling over, I don't know what is. And then speaking further to how Franco's sway allegedly swung in favor of Madrid and thus driving the wedge between the sets of supporters even further, there's the story of how Franco is believed to have influenced Alfredo Di Stefano's move to Real Madrid. Di Stefano, someone who needs no introduction and is synonymous with the history of Madrid, was actually a Barcelona player first, before Franco allegedly got involved, in which a series of events led...
Oh, so transferring over from either team, that's also looked at as treason too. That is crazy.
...to Barcelona ripping up Di Stefano's contract, thus allowing him to sign for Real Madrid permanently. Honestly, the situation is long and complicated, so if there's any interest in it, I can do a separate video on that because it's just too much to explain within this video. But as I said, it was just another situation that added fuel to the fire among the Spanish football fans who believed that Real Madrid was the regime team, with the most vehement believers, of course, being the Barcelona fans. Nowadays, thanks in part to time healing all wounds, and in part due to Barcelona's Guardiola era dominating Spain, and then the Ronaldo versus Messi era, and more recently Real Madrid's incredible run of 4 Champions League titles in 5 seasons, the focus has shifted more towards football, beating the other team on the pitch, than politics. However, there still is that underlying political edge to it, what with Catalonia's referendums and calls for independence as recently as October of 2017,
That's wild. And this video is kind of old. This video is like 7 years old because we're learning the history of the whole El Clasico. So I might do a part 2 of this video. Let me know in the comments if I should do a part 2 of this video of actually showing like the head-to-head games and like how the competitiveness and how they break down each game. Let me know in the comments.
No doubt stirs up the emotions of old once El Clásico comes around. And aren't we all lucky, fans of Real Madrid, Barcelona, or neutrals such as myself, whenever it does come around? And I think that will just about do it for El Clásico in this edition of Rabona TV's
Thank you, Mr. Rabona TV, on the history of the El Clásico. So we thank you, and we definitely appreciate that. So we know the history of the El Clásico, why it happened, the political views behind it. Yeah, I think we're gonna do a part 2 for sure, so we can actually see like how the games played out and all the drama behind that. So this is actually part 1 of the El Clásico. So we know the origins, we know the history of it. I thank you, and I think everyone that's been following me on the journey and been helping me in the comments understand things better. Okay? I appreciate it. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be easy.